After a shuttle crash on an unknown planet, a child discovers a robot that saves him and obediently follows all his commands.
Can you do something so we don't freeze?
On a spaceship, a family of 5, including a husband, wife, and their 3 children, are playing cards when the system announces their completion of exiting orbit. The father instructs everyone to put on their helmets. Suddenly, the ship starts shaking violently. Flaming pieces of metal fly past as a massive spaceship crashes into theirs from above. The children panic while the adults try to calm them down, but the ship continues to descend. After a rough landing, the parents and children attempt to escape. The boy manages to get out first, but the hatch jams, preventing anyone else from following him, so they must find another way out. Once outside, the entire family is greeted by a winter landscape. Their ship has landed on a glacier, which starts to crack under its weight, causing it to sink. The middle daughter communicates with their military dad via video call, and the son, noticing the leaves around him, realizes they are near their fence. Excitedly, the kids run to meet their dad. Meanwhile, the mom receives a phone call, and the daughter turns on the news. The TV reports that astronomers observing near-Earth space have detected a large unidentified object heading toward Earth. NASA scientists are monitoring its trajectory around the clock to assess the collision risk. After the crash, the eldest daughter examines their mom's injured leg and concludes that it is broken. A quarrel ensues between the girls, but the woman interrupts by taking off her helmet. The man tries to stop her, warning that the atmosphere hasn't been checked, but she insists it's fine and points out a hole in his pants. If the atmosphere were toxic, he would already be dead. Everyone takes off their helmets and breathes the fresh air happily. Setting up a temporary camp, the mom tries to figure out their location. She informs her family that this planet is Earth-like, with an atmosphere, gravity, and pressure similar to Earth, and there's no shortage of water. She believes the planet is habitable and that they are very lucky to land here. However, the dad interrupts, informing them that when the water freezes, their ship, Jupiter, will be under 20 meters of ice. After doing some calculations, the mom explains that in about 6 hours, the sun will set, and the temperature will drop to minus 60 degrees, causing their batteries to die. Upon hearing this, the dad suggests diving underwater to retrieve the large batteries to recharge their suits. However, the mom is against it, citing the distance to the hatch in his damaged suit. The dad proposes swimming to the broken hatch, glancing at the boy. Despite the dad's encouragement and suiting up the boy, the mom adamantly refuses, deeming it too dangerous. Nevertheless, Judy puts on a suit and jumps into the water, ignoring her father's pleas to return. She dives deeper and swims into the ship. The parents anxiously urge her to hurry back, uncertain when the water will start freezing. Judy reaches the cargo hold and grabs the battery, but as she notices everything around her starting to freeze, she becomes trapped underwater. Her parents witness this from above, urgently demanding she surface immediately. Fearful of getting trapped underwater, Judy swims frantically but doesn't make it in time. The water freezes completely, and she gets stuck. Her mother tries to calm her, mentioning her suit has enough oxygen for 5 hours, allowing them time to come up with a plan. At some point, the mother's condition worsens, and she loses consciousness. John starts manually chipping at the ice but makes slow progress. Meanwhile, his son approaches and mentions that during the landing, they hit large magnesium deposits, which burn well even in ice. Communicating with Judy, John tells her he needs to go get something that will help save her. Taking Will with him, they set off. Penny stays in the tent with their injured mom. In a flashback, Mom and Penny, wearing respirators, enter a store. Penny asks the shopkeeper to see some watches as she wants to buy a gift for her dad. The woman is not very enthusiastic and doesn't believe he'll make it home for Christmas. She decides to pay herself and asks if they can return them if necessary. Back in the present, Penny keeps chipping at the ice. Judy contacts her, asking about their mother's condition, but she is still unconscious. Father and son continue their journey to the magnesium deposits. Along the way, they talk about Will's interests. He shares that he finished a geology test and loves to read. Reaching the edge of a mountain, they see white smoke from burning magnesium. While Penny reads a book to Judy, their mother regains consciousness. Penny tells her that Dad and Will went to get magnesium. In a cave, the boy and his father collect great chunks from the walls, which are made of magnesium. Will is very worried about his sister and blames himself for what happened, believing he hesitated for too long, but the father reassures him that it's not his fault. Upset, the boy takes a few steps and suddenly falls into a hole. Mom's condition worsens, feeling like her leg is in a vice. Judy overhears her conversation with Penny and asks her sister to feel the leg. Penny checks and reports that it feels as hard as a rock. Judy diagnoses compartment syndrome, where the swelling from the fracture is compressing the leg, and they need to relieve the pressure. She instructs her sister to perform a minor surgery. Following Judy's instructions, Penny retrieves a strong anesthetic from the first aid kit and administers it to their mother, who then loses consciousness. Judy explains they need to perform a decompression fasciotomy. Penny is nervous. Neither she nor her sister has ever done this before. However, Judy, speaking confidently, continues to guide her. She instructs Penny to get a scalpel and lots of bandages and make 4 incisions from the kneecap to the ankle. Meanwhile, Will calls for his father but gets no response. He exits the cave and sees greenery around him. Finally, his father contacts him via radio. Will describes his surroundings and mentions that where there is greenery, there are herbivores, and hence predators too. He asks his father to come down as soon as possible, but his father says it will take time, which Judy needs more urgently. He promises to return for Will as soon as he can. Encouraging Will to stay strong, John heads back to the camp. Will talks with Judy, expressing his fear that he failed his tests. Judy reassures him, saying he'll pass and they'll all fly together because they're the Robinsons and they stick together. Their mother listens in on their conversation secretly. Mom regains consciousness, and Penny successfully completes the surgery. She tells her daughter that they are all very important to her and that they will overcome this together. Mom enters her office and opens her laptop to find a message from an unknown sender, ready to trade. After closing the window, she checks her son's report card and discovers he failed the test. Despite her initial hesitation, she agrees to the stranger's terms and sends his report card. Moments later, the grades change, showing that Will passed all his tests. Delighted by the news, she calls her son and suggests they go out for tortillas to celebrate. A boy sits against a tree, noticing some strange, burning embers nearby. Unable to contact any survivors, he sets out to find them. Trekking through the forest, he stumbles upon a massive crashed spaceship. Realizing it isn't Jupiter, he contemplates the existence of other intelligent civilizations. As he approaches, he discovers that none of the crew survived. His examination is interrupted by a noise, and he turns to see a terrifying creature. Terrified, Will climbs a tree to escape, but the creature spots him and starts chasing him. From a branch, Will watches the creature attempt to climb up but fail. Suddenly, a second robot, unnoticed by Will, tries to grab him, tearing his jacket. Meanwhile, John returns to the camp, where his wife, concerned about their son, notices he is alone. John reassures her that he will return for Will but emphasizes that they need to help Judy first. Placing magnesium in a hollow, John ignites it, melting some of the ice. John receives a call from his mother, who informs him that their entire family has been approved for the 24th group of colonists. Surprised by the news, John learns that their departure is in a month. She asks him to sign papers granting permission for the children to go. John isn't thrilled, knowing he might not see his kids again, but she insists it's his last chance to do the right thing after leaving them. Meanwhile, Will sits in the tree, attempting to contact his father. A robot sits opposite him on another branch. Will talks to the robot, uncertain if it understands. He notices the robot's headlights blinking oddly and realizes that the creature below is the robot's other half, and it is dying. The fire approaches closer. John and Maureen desperately melt the ice, attempting to save Judy. Suddenly, it starts raining, undoing their efforts as the hole fills up and refreezes. Judy's air supply is critically low. Panicking, Will tries once more to contact his father but receives no reply. Deciding that at least one of them should survive, he pushes part of the robot down. The robot, reassembling itself, grabs Will and carries him out of the fire. Will thanks the robot, still clearly scared, and the robot transforms. John and Maureen frantically chip away at the ice, but their efforts seem futile as Judy's air runs out and their hope dwindles. Just as despair starts to set in, Will arrives with the robot, whose assistance becomes instrumental in rescuing Judy. With its powerful hands, the robot melts the ice, finally pulling Judy out of the water. Reunited, the family joyfully embraces their children, relieved to have them safe. Will then requests the robot to protect them from freezing. The Resolute, 12 hours earlier, using the colony-wide alert system, all colonists are instructed to proceed to their Jupiter shuttles. The Robinson family swiftly makes their way to theirs. As they traverse the corridor, they encounter a man and a woman in astronaut suits. Further down, another woman peers out the window before swiftly turning around at the sound of gunshots, spotting a wounded man. Rushing to his aid, she listens intently as he urgently warns that they need to head downstairs as something deadly is approaching, wreaking havoc. Peering cautiously around the corner, she witnesses a robot mercilessly attacking and killing people. Spotting a patch on the wounded man's sleeve identifying him as Dr. Smith, she assists him out of his jacket, dons it herself, and then leaves him behind as she flees. Nearby, 2 astronauts stand guard by the entrance to Jupiter, and the woman in the stolen jacket approaches them, swiftly opening the shuttle entrance. Turning to them, she beckons them to join her, suggesting that a couple of mechanics would be valuable additions. As all the Jupiters take off, their base station is obliterated. A man, previously unconscious, finds himself in the pilot's seat of a damaged shuttle, surrounded by buzzing instrument panels and blinking lights. With a sudden beep, he regains consciousness, only to discover the wreckage around him and an abyss ahead. Perched on the remnants of the frame is a chicken. Struggling to free himself from his jam straps, he attempts to cut them with a knife from his pocket but fumbles as the shuttle jerks. Calling out to his partner, he receives a response from a woman claiming to be Dr. Smith, who is also trapped. After managing to free himself with the knife, he helps the woman escape before the shuttle plummets into the abyss. Meanwhile, Morin inspects the robot, identifying it as synthetic and manufactured. When asked for its name, the robot remains silent. The boy explains its origins from the ship and how he saved it before. As they converse, the robot activates and starts melting the ice covering Jupiter. Outside, the man and the woman from the shuttle escape onto the street. Spotting his partner but realizing she's beyond help, he retrieves a distress flare from her boots and fires it into the air. Judy sits nearby, reflecting on her past ordeal of freezing in the ice. As the robot and Judy's father descend into the ship to repair the shuttle, the man, receiving no response to his distress flare, surveys the area and concludes they are completely alone. Suddenly, he notices something in the distance and decides to set off with the woman and the chicken, hoping for assistance. On the shuttle, the entire family is immersed in repairs and cleanup tasks. Penny diligently changes filters, while Will focuses on fixing equipment. John busies himself printing a prosthesis for Morin. As Judy walks through the ship with the prosthetic in hand, she notices the robot and pauses to express her gratitude. However, the robot remains focused on its work without responding. Judy then returns to her mother, assisting her in putting on the prosthetic leg. Meanwhile, John asks Penny for assistance with the pump, seeking her expertise in resolving the issue. Stepping outside, the girl clears it and out of the corner of her eye notices something strange. As she turns in that direction, she notices fire from an explosion, followed by thick black smoke. She quickly contacts her parents, urging them to come out, insisting they need to see what's happening. After witnessing the explosion, Morin remarks that it resembles the second tank from Jupiter. She, John, Will, and the robot embark on a mission to search for survivors. Before they depart, their mom assigns tasks to her daughters. They need to slowly melt the ice and raise the ship without causing the glacier to collapse. Additionally, she writes various other tasks for Penny on the board. Stepping outside, the woman notices that John has decided to take their son along. He wants them to be supervised by the robot because he doesn't trust the creature. However, the mother disagrees. It saved their son, so it can be trusted. The four of them set out on their journey. The man and the woman continue their search for help. Along the way, he asks her about her profession, to which she responds that she is a psychotherapist. However, he doesn't seem to take her profession seriously. As they approach closer, they spot a parachute and a pilot. He reads her name Angela on the sleeve. Initially thinking the girl was dead, they discover she's alive when she takes a sharp breath. Meanwhile, Judy carefully lifts the shuttle upwards while Penny approaches her with a pack of Oreo cookies, offering them to her. Despite Judy suggesting waiting for everyone else, Penny insists on eating them. Just then, the sensor starts beeping again, indicating the sleeve is clogged, and Penny goes outside to clean it. John, his wife, son, and the robot reach the crash site of Jupiter 17 only to realize that there are no survivors from the crew. Penny cleans the sleeve and notices a storm approaching. Upon returning to her sister, she attempts to contact their parents but finds they're out of range. She suggests going after them, but Judy explains that it would take too long on foot, and the forklift is locked in the garage under a layer of ice. Judy was specifically instructed to lift slowly to avoid destabilizing the glacier. However, Penny disregards her sister's warning and abruptly activates all the sensors, pulling the lever. This action causes the shuttle to break part of the ice around it, creating a passage. Judy becomes furious at her sister's impulsive actions. Upon entering the garage, the sisters find that the forklift doesn't even have wheels, and Judy, frustrated, remarks that she still doesn't have a license and nothing will work out. Walking away, the parents, along with their son, inspect the crash site, hoping to find survivors. Suddenly, the radio picks up a strange sound, which the boy recognizes from the crashed ship's robot. Mom suggests asking the robot if it knows where its ship is. Will obediently asks, but the robot remains silent, leading him to believe it doesn't remember anything. John suggests returning to Jupiter, but Morin insists, and the boy asks the robot if it remembers where they met. The robot comes to life and leads them to the location. Meanwhile, the man and the woman contemplate their next move near the injured Angela. He initially suggests leaving her behind, citing the approaching storm, but ultimately decides to take her with them. Carrying Angela, they continue their journey. Back in the garage, Penny finishes attaching wheels to the forklift and informs Judy through the radio. However, Judy is hesitant to go, still haunted by her past experience of being trapped in the ice. Penny decides to go alone, setting out to find her family after switching the car to winter mode. As the man, Angela, and the woman journey on, she suggests firing another signal flare, which he does. Taking a brief break, they notice the storm still approaching. the robot leads the Robinson family to the crash site. While the parents inspect the ship, the robot stays outside with the boy. Will decides to teach it how to play ball, and they have some success until the robot throws the ball askew, leading it to roll under the wreckage. As the boy tries to retrieve it, both he and the robot start seeing images of its life before the crash. Will witnesses disturbing scenes of himself killing people on the station. Meanwhile, something mysterious occurs on the ship as the parents observe light forming around them, revealing a map of the planet and the universe. When the robot releases the piece, the map and memories vanish. Horrified by what he saw, the boy tries to distance himself from the robot, but it still catches up with him. He asks the robot why it attacked them, but it remains silent, so he gives it a few commands, and it obediently carries them out. The storm draws nearer. The man carries Angela on his shoulders while Dr. Smith accompanies them, seeking shelter in a small cave. After carefully laying Angela down, they settle beside her. However, Dr. Smith realizes she's lost her beloved locket and steps out to search for it. Venturing just a few meters away, she finds it and returns. Although the man offers to fix the chain, she suggests postponing it until later when they leave. Knowing he can't leave her and they need help, she decides to search for it herself, saying she'll find him later. With only one shot left, it's not worth using it now. After bidding farewell, she departs. Feeling relieved, Will and the robot reunite with their mom and dad. Penny drives through the forest, attempting to contact her parents, but receives no response. As the Robinsons walk through the forest, something falls near the boy. Upon picking it up, he realizes it's a small stone, followed by a hail of these stones. The family runs for cover, sustaining injuries from the falling stones. Taking shelter under a boulder, they hear Penny's voice. Despite struggling to track them due to the storm, Penny spots the robot climbing onto the rock and shining like a spotlight. Maureen instructs her daughter to head towards the light, and she rushes to reunite with her family. Climbing into the forklift, the boy tells the robot to hold on tight as his father takes the wheel, driving at maximum speed to escape the storm. The man wraps Angela in foil to keep her from freezing and then decides to survey the area once more with binoculars. To his disbelief, he spots a moving vehicle and rushes to the signal gun. While driving in the forklift, the boy notices a signal flare. Without hesitation, the father turns towards it, driving back into the storm. Stopping, they pick up Dr. Smith, who reassures them she's alone. There's no one else with her. As the man opens the box with the signal gun, he discovers it's empty. He realizes that the woman orchestrated everything, from losing her locket to stealing the gun and signal flare while he was searching for it. The car races ahead at full throttle, and the woman starts to get acquainted with the family. Judy is nervous, eagerly awaiting her relatives. The storm relentlessly approaches the car. In the final seconds, the forklift manages to pull into the shuttle's garage, and Judy closes the gates behind them. Everyone exits the car, and Dr. Smith spots the robot. She recognizes it as the same robot from the station, but the boy assures her that it's not dangerous. Would you trust this robot? Share your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another exciting story.